Hello, Legion. Here is one. It hurts not one. There's an orchestration before and as the value of. Maintaining the value, beyond the value of colonization, was an organized crime method that wrought the similarity to the recorded, tactically abridged, denatured relationship to nature as fact treatment nature. And that is functional to an organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. Organized crime method using human fact treatment nature. There are proofs that the ancients revealed us as a fact treatment nature. That's how they understood before the criminal re-engineering of areas, states, of sciences, and top-down sciences in collusion with that, to voices, top-down to all leaders, distinctly and commonly. Like blaming things on, when people say markets, values, and stuff like that, it's how the sciences were fused together, areas maintained before modern nations, before they let kings realized fact treatment nature slaves. A king is a form of fact treatment nature slave by and how groups were forced to a racket that the religions are about. The first part of the Quran, not about any debatable things. In the first part of the Old Testament, which is about debatable things. These are how these are multi-front defense of the same thing, which was evolution tactically sabotaged to remain tactically sabotaged in relationship to a database crime method that is also with areas. And that's the quality of fact treatment nature necessary to defend women's rights. And so, like our founders didn't have the freedom they didn't just have the freedom of speech to leave a detailed description of their roles with the Constitution and of our impositions. They had to even hide their roles even after with the Constitutional Convention because of a method that was internation entrenched here, where they only let sophistication already maintained criminally foreign influence through database relationships, because it only lets realized knave telling everyone, oh, that's kids, don't think. And worse. This is against fact treatment, each age of fact treatment nature, against each person, each group, sequentially together grouped, and with all areas. This is why we have manifest what they call crime, because they put the physics before the metaphysics, which is nature. There's also proof that we need, just like we have Latin statutes like habeas corpus for the right, where they deny that. They there's other ways they torture people. Areas maintained through time, cultivated originally, and progressed, maintain internation, exploitations for a method to make itself maintain, blamed on other and other. What was his internation that they don't even realize? But we have nations shared here with criminal justice, even nations that are like semi our own nation, like Puerto Rico, like with the criminal justice. There's like they've agreed to be knaves, all modern nations, in all states of modern nations, all areas of modern nations, in conjunction with the sciences, uncharged, originally progressed. And that's in conjunction with fact treatment nature that is originally motivated to make convictions with the mind indifferent to and exploiting and blaming on other and others all the hurt that was with colonization. Here, internation, before the births of our founders, and how they were with the fake news forced, and only that realized through tactical pseudo-education of the agencies, of the judges, everyone victim predators, everyone. That's what motivated, not prejudice. No one wants that. What they want, what they need, is people to believe that people want that and need that. And they need that talking with sense. Everyone. They need who's going to be indifferent to this, whichever one is. Because that's what the conversation, when you talk about women's rights by jobs. Now we're talking about the nature of organized crime, for example, with treatments of J.P. Morgan, buried in Hartford, Connecticut, right where the Brooklyn Turnpike enters the heart of Hartford. He had to loan money to the government to fight the world wars. J.P. Morgan. So we'll come to the Brooklyn Turnpike. And James Madison had to meet in Wethersfield, Connecticut, right here, right where this is where Hartford and Wethersfield meet. Right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, meeting with the French general. He could only semi-count or extort that with slavery here. Not by him. This was what had the slavery, not only of him, as fact cheap in nature. Our founders were fact cheap in nature, slaves. We have not one nation capable of defending that. And while this is maintaining itself, maintained, blaming on others, each and cultivating criminal insidiousness nature, pseudo-patriotism natures. I don't believe that Donald Trump is a pseudo-patriotism, maybe, but he doesn't understand that. But he's right too. Another point, because if you don't understand, like with the Pledge of Allegiance is more valuable than the flag. So that's the nature that doesn't break. That's going to stay as perfect value here, or it's going to demonstrate by negative value nature progressions. See, but we have an investment system of each modern nation. Look at people stacking. Divided means claim free. These aren't the means you leave, because there's odds to that, because how the criminal insidiousness nature was built. I'm not a lawyer, but this is what the Bible is about, with the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and then when coming to Cain and Abel. Now this is an ulterior value nature system. What's that mean? Value has a value nature relationship to itself, and diffusion through itself is a quality of diffusion, positive or negative. As positive. And as positive is a relationship to itself. So they tell us to take the position against radical Islam, while they're telling us Islam means what it doesn't with them, multi-front. For example, Jesus Christ is about radical correlation, too. It's about correlation's value. What is really positive is positive relationship to itself. And what's with, we have to, everything. We have to understand what was built here. For the fact, cheap in nature, slavery. Because that's what it is in the end. At the beginning, the worst parts of slavery. It was with witch trials, laws crazier than the witch trials. Against everyone was a fact, cheap in nature, slave is the point. To counter those still hurt by it worse, and still, we have to admit it together. We have to understand it together. And that requires understanding, looking right at how we don't have one modern nation with integrity. But this is not talking to sense. This is how there is no place to report it. And the extent of it is insidious to all areas. And then through families they have with this, attaching people to fake relationships to people, fake conversations, sequence shifting there's like, people don't understand the way, people just have faith because everyone was grown up and no one's going to explain the way that things work. Like there's a probate courts tied to prisons and tied to what is it? Elderly homes. Whoa! Look at the standard. That's not means. But at the same time, though, it's not means in the cities, because everyone was invested to play the game and just survive, and that's promoted, in the feeling of sense is by the investigators that they lean on the media. Because they're not honest in relationship to their roles with their investigators and their roles with fake news, with fake medical information. We have our own agencies recorded, with our own intermilitary recorded, with areas progressed, medical corruption that have nothing to do with money. This is a means that's using those kind of things, and areas only let realize fact treatment natures through effects where they're directed or affected to have conversations, and then they have investigations go through again. Someone has to lie and start telling, hiding things, and insidiousness used that for recorded witness fabrication, motivations, and acts. Recorded. Forging names, investigators into branch. See, when we have people with sensibilities about agencies that never was, with integrity, because they're victims, but they're victim predators. And that's the only place and so you think about the progression of a body of correlation, especially if you had, no one had proper education, because everyone was told to be knaves. Otherwise, science would have stood up for the streets, not people stack. And realized tactically denatured, forced. With all those laws was a breaching method of slavery, fact cheap in nature slavery. That's the first thing we have to know, and that's what we have to teach, because otherwise, with the talks with the culture and stuff like that, they're using this to maintain shield to what is recorded worse than criminally incompetent intercampus and on and off campus with database crime relationship originally and still. It's recorded. There's no place to make the Facebook is being used interbranch and intermilitary already through time. Not just to hide things like with their spy dens and stuff like that. They have also recorded and confessed forging. They have rackets with the surveillance equipment together, the agencies and stuff like that, and with the words with it, with evidence crime rolls, database crime rolls, with areas, campuses. People don't realize this, how easy it is affected by them too, because they're with criminal justice. They have different countries with CCSU and with Trinity College. And then they come over here, and we have a whole bunch of people from my town already criminally influenced with actors with confessed and recorded tied to groups with the child prisons, with the stewards of the prisons and adult prisons, Sandy Hook, and with doctors with them, with online recorded crime rolls with them, with child predators, recorded with rolls with further recorded ones and further requests, confessed. And what they do, then they say that people can't talk, and they attach them to fake conversations. Even because the investigators too, with the online rape threats. This was before they arrested me for harassment with wire crime sequence shifts, after they had already forged names and prevented me for years now but I'm still waiting to make a police report, and they know they never let me talk because they keep attaching me to forged names, a Leahy family. I never had anything to do with them growing up. Right? Too, there was confessions regarding them, and the roles with court people, with evidence, crime database, crime rules, and they show how they had a progression with it, because they affected all these confessions to me everywhere I went in life, and I didn't understand. And I found out what they're doing. They're stacking their evidence brackets with areas intercampus, because we have original, private, regular, interbranch, intermilitary, and medical corruption with the internation police, and with rackets in relationship to the time and treatments of mental health with every business, every science. With physical delusions, all with criminal foreign persuasions still. But it is not sourced by one nation, and not by accident. Every single nation is with not one legal nature criminally competent. I mean, legally competent to speak for us, because everyone was a victim predator of justifications, of glorifications, even of a nature as criminal insidiousness that can't defend that and contemplate long enough to see and to discern, for example, all the proofs of it too, of the the organized crime breaching method against human fact treatment, nature, and means, in our relationship to nature, nature's relationship to us, and needs to keep the value of the compressed nature's value, it's a shared value nature systems, physical progression here, where its identity could be onto a progression through more of them as positive value nature forever here, or as a force from here as positive to it, in the form of negative value nature forced home from here to make positive value nature progressions, concentration somewhere else eventually. To keep, this is more logical. Before there could be a big bang or anything like that, there has to be something made. This is diffusion of a semi-nature of a forever nature that is the identity of space, which is like our own identities that came before and be beyond value beyond us, as positive progression here, or as a force from here, lethal hadith. And so, with what taught and teaches this as the only course that's manifest all ways at once as its own, as science, this is why we have men and women, to see that we're in a negative value nature progression. To accommodate, but this is a value nature system that you can't separate this from, you can't trust, and you can't have faith, you can't glorify agencies that could even claim science when there's people stacking like that and stuff and unaddressed, and with the treatments of American history, summary convictions of it, all taken without the extortion, the fact-cheating nature of slavery of our founders. That's what they wanted charged. Not to hurt someone. Not to hurt someone. They want free speech. Well, who can't take it? Who can't take it? It's got nothing to do with money, because we could just say the whole world wants change, wants to get out of it. And we have it. All we have to do is so we admit that nature, we're tactically denatured by the organized crime. This is what we could agree. We don't have to agree it's a devil, but that's what science would say. Because this is recorded too. This is recorded. a breaching method. That's what they had those crazy laws against everyone. We have to understand the fact, cheap nature, slavery are our founders. We have to understand left movements like that pretending they believe other and really believing other, because we have uncharged each science's reception. In other words, we even, especially with mental health, we have criminality with that, with interbranch actors. That's what the problem with the prisons are. And they're with on-off campus, off prison camp. I believe those are referred to as campuses too, the prisons. Everything is a hospital campus, Hartford Hospital's campus, with all kinds of doctors recorded, confessed, involved with mental health, all kinds of natures of crime tied to database crime roles they have with courts, and directly with probate courts. That they just fabricate evidence, they torture people. They did this with they have crime rolls with the modern languages. They're keeping criminal insidiousness nature, breaching rules for their own reasons, because that's how everyone was built. They now have breached human fact-cheating nature, every science. So we have to understand the value of correlation. That's the correlative conjunction. English, we have to understand. We also need another nature of statutes for prisons, because just why they put Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, for example, they put him in prison because the prisons were corrupt. This is a database crime that took over. It wouldn't let Jesus Christ have free speech, because it was going to attach him to whatever, anything, take over everything. That's what they're doing with Islam. They're not letting us having this conversation. That's why the king is told to be valued distinctly from the Quran, but with it, because everyone was forced to share markets positions. That's why the beginning of the Quran is talking about, see, they lied, but see how they did it. They told us this, and they're talking about they is because the forced markets positions were with the organized crime that criminally re-engineered the original nature of internation sciences. And they knew that doing that, then that would degrade areas in state sciences in their fact treatment nature. And they did that, especially, they leveraged means to motivate that to tactical areas, and they did it to the whole world. And now everyone's Oz, before even kings. You see? Because they were cultivating, they were propagating, everyone blaming on others, no one knowing. Who's they? A criminal enterprise is caused to things like association with it, in the nature of people, and their acts, in their relationship to investigations and fact treatments, formal and informal, and tied to that, in databases, because of jails, and those people, still worse than most killers, still with recorded rules. This is with the crimes against women and against children, when they said the right to lie. That's against each president they're lying to. Each president, leading up to lying to everybody, because they were inherited as lie, progression, cover-up nature, victim predators. Predators, though. Every modern nation. So forgiveness was for this, because that's where all answers from. We need we need a parent's voice, but what our parents say will be exploited, and that's what Kaepernick's about with the flag, and that's multi-front. What Trump's about, and that's multi-front. What's about only seeing it that way, and measuring how it can get away, because this is with consciously against each age of fact treatment nature, men and women, distinctly and together. They're going to just play the differences. That's why they talk about women's rights separate. Everyone, that's just how it is. It's prejudice. The cities. What do you mean it's prejudice? Our nature doesn't want that, but we're in a captive value nature system. Math just measures. And fake news is real. Fake news is real. I asked them to take down. They don't even take down their fake news. Recorded, proven. But it's further recorded, tied to further crimes with the kids, with the only investigators let there for them, in collusion with other natures of people associated with all kinds of rackets at once. So what do? They share things like blaming it on money. It has nothing to do with money. It has the relationship to witness fabrication, evidence crime rolls with areas and with campuses through time. Database crime rolls tied to their roles with case crimes, with judges, family members, covering live progressions from witness crime rolls with the same police with the rape threats on the kids. Then they sequence shift after they had already forged names. Have a Leahy family confessed and recorded with their own kids involved with crimes with other people's kids. People they don't even know. They attach me to fake conversations with federal criminals that tied to their drug cliques, tied to courts, evidence fabrication natures recorded, tied to the rape threats online and posted and messaged, and recorded tied to sequence shifts and evidence fabrications in court, confessions from state's attorneys, from a state regarding an investigator directing them to evidence crimes. And this was through time. Stacking illusions in database crimes with areas and with courts and with child predators, and ones tied to confessed and demonstrably recorded clicks with prisons inside, outside. See, at the time in the measured, that's a torture job. I understand that, because but they also have. This is like there's a prison in Sandy Hook, Newtown. They have the treatment to that, pretending they're relying on investigators. So now they're leaned on investigators with things like that. You know, someone wants to talk, because I know families connected to the prison there. And I was put there, I have no criminal record, I was put there with sequence shifts and with evidence crimes, because for instance, 2001, and when I was a kid, I was trying to report things in this town connected to the same people who were making confessions to me about court police and about their role with campuses. First, they when we come down to it, they made confession about the role with court police and with military police and with medical corruption, like tied to that body big spot in the person of the serial killer and the business and people with the businesses before it, all with these recorded roles and confessions with that. And like since 2001, people have been making confessions about that, asking for help for it. But then they attach the people, because they already have those on off-campus relationships and natures already cultivated to relationships with ones who came through that already criminally foreign influence to the area, and in relationship to how they share the internation police there, and with connections between it and Trinity College, and like with houses. I don't know if they're connected with radio, like some kind of. In other words, we have undercovers though that are bad with the kids. Nothing to do with vetting and stuff like that. They're sick natures. This is why we have science that's exploiting our cities and human opinions. There's no free election. They're lying to each president, but it's with and as a vicious nature, with convictions, with fake information, with evidence sequence shifting roles that are not even deniable, and with how they get away with that is pretending it's the agencies, and there's no place to report that. So this was and is could only be motivated by the same way it was and is originally motivated. It's also recorded further motivated by that, by how they by a database crime method. They're recording with all kinds of federal crime, with all kinds of tricks, preventing anyone from making a police report, using Facebook to further sexual harassment, and then blame people for what they do by sequence shifting, because they had people attached to witness fabrication roles and illusions with and as the value of agencies and of their family members and military ones in town and fire department ones to their investigators. With so they attach them to lies formally, fact treatment hacks. Then they bring another investigations in, and then they have to lie further. So they're stacking themselves with many federal crimes in the form of evidence crimes for their mouths. So they say, why would they do that though? Why would they be motivated to do that? Because they already did it. They already did it because they have recorded crime rolls with a former director of the FBI and his co-defendants, and police with the courts confessed and recorded with that. In other words, if you try to report this, people just. I was trying to report things. That's why I didn't try to report it because it was already proven too and recorded. But it's further, 31 minutes.